at Finet, it's like Coke and Pepsi, right? When you go to Merrill, Morgan, UBS, Wells Fargo Advisors, Ray J maybe, they're all kind of the same. You got the SMAs, you got the alternative desk, the bond desk, private client group, the high net worth department, all of these things. We have access to all of that through Wells Fargo Advisors. So I think Finet's very unique in that it does have that model. But then I think even outside of Finet, you are able to customize your own tech stack however you want to run your practice. So I do think it's just a lot more options. And I'd say in some cases, better platform that you can even build from the ground up your own. You say, hey, I don't like this about where I'm at. I do like these things. So I'm going to just take the things I like, create my own platform, and move on from there.
Welcome to the Active Advisor Podcast, brought to you by Harbor Capital. Join us as we learn from pros who have helped thousands of investors live better lives. I'm Bryan Moore, and I'll be chatting with some of the brightest minds in the financial advisory business, bringing you insights on practice management and investment research that works for advisors and their clients. Joining me today on this episode of the Active Advisor Podcast is Thomas Fautrel, the president and co-founder of 72 Capital Wealth Management. Tom's leadership at 72 Capital is marked by a focus on growth initiatives and geographic expansion, as well as developing and integrating financial advisors. He also specializes in advising Fortune 500 executives on their stock and benefit plans, along with creating customized portfolio solutions. He has been recognized as a top next-gen wealth advisor by Forbes, and is consistently on the Forbes Best-In-State Wealth Advisors list. I think it goes without saying that Tom brings a wealth of experience and insight to our discussion today. Welcome, Tom, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, before we dive into our conversation, I'd love to hear, in your own words, a little bit more about your role and what you're focused on today.
Yeah, my role currently at 72 Capital is I'm the president and really in charge of the firm's the growth of the organization, bringing on new advisors and expanding our geographic footprint.
So sounds like you have a lot of free time there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now I appreciate you doing that. Now we can go ahead and jump right in. Typically here on the Active Advisor, we like to get the conversation started by asking each of our guests, what is the first memory you have related to money or investing?
The money part's definitely an early memory. My household, we didn't really talk much about investing, but kind of remember, my first memory would be not having much, and grew up with my granddad and he didn't work. And I kind of remember we would have these side hustles to kind of get some cash, whether it be, collecting cans, turning them in at the recycling place. I'd wash cars, cut grass, kind of do anything, probably starting in about 5th or 6th grade, anything like to get some cash in my pocket. The current term would be side hustle, but that's my first memory.
Well, I tell you what, understood. And that sounds like a very valuable memory. I had a very similar one. So yeah, I get it. It's quite the motivator.
It is. It absolutely is.
We're going to fast forward just a little bit from that because that's definitely something, maybe we can circle back with later, but I'd love to hear more about the journey that ultimately led you from those first money memories to founding 72 Capital.
Yeah. So I went to University of Maryland here locally, and I was fortunate enough to have an internship my senior year as a cold caller at a company called A.G. Edwards. I don't know if that name even still rings anybody's bell, but they were bought by Wachovia and Wells Fargo ended up buying Wachovia. But I started as a cold caller there and then quickly moved to Merrill Lynch, where I started my career trying to get clients, new clients in the door by cold calling, kind of the only thing that I knew. And that was probably 2007, pre-financial crisis, pre-B of A purchase of Merrill. That whole thing happened, which I'm sure a lot of these listeners went through, and Merrill kind of came out the other side. My view wasn't really the same place. So myself and my partner, Paul Carlson, we decided to leave in 2011 to go to Morgan Stanley. Got there and kind of, I'd say by 2015 or 16, really thought independence was kind of the way of the future of our industry. And there's all types of motivations to go independent. There's the economic motivations, the culture motivations. And I think Paul and I shared a lot of those together, and we decided to leave Morgan Stanley in December of 2016. It was a kind of a difficult, decision to figure out what platform would be best for us. We were both Merrill and Morgan guys, so big wirehouse FAs, and clients were used to, the full suite of services that all those places have. And we felt every kind of meeting that we would have, whether, you'd kind of lose some of whether it be not integrated banking or no mortgage services or no asset-based lending, all these things that our clients were accustomed to, kind of kept on hitting some dead ends. And we stumbled across FiNet, which is the acronym of the Financial Advisor Network under the Wells Fargo umbrella. And kind of quickly understood that we were able to plug into a wirehouse chassis. You could say that, use that term, which was Wells Fargo Advisor. So anything that an NFA sitting at a branch there would have access to, we had access to, but we're completely independent and owned our business. So we chose to partner with Wells Fargo. It's been a great decision. And so December 1st, 2016, we left. It was about 5 of us and about 220 million in client assets, and had a successful transition. FiNet was, key contributor to that successful transition. Summer of 17, I ran into a buddy of mine still at Morgan. It was June, actually, to be specific. And he says, "Hey, I want to come see you guys." And he comes in, and we had a little small office and here in Bethesda. And he's like, "Hey, I'm coming next month. I'm going to join you guys." And Paul and I were kind of taken back, and we were just figuring out how to put up a website, much less onboard an advisor coming over. So we kind of told him we're not sure if that's, really a good idea. And he said, "No, I'm coming next month. You guys figure it out. Let me know." So kind of went downstairs, back of the bar napkin kind of thing, and figured it out. And, our goal was to provide him the benefits of independence, whether it be, 1099 pay, higher grid, book ownership, cooler office, better culture, and without all the headaches that Paul and I at the time were kind of handling on our own. Healthcare website, the list is like, 15 deep, right? Compliance, everything that would go into running an organization. And he came over, he was happy as can be. And, late that year going into 2018, we were like, well, maybe we could be the platform on the platform. And, all the hurdles that advisors might have to go independent, we could eliminate for them and maybe make it easier. And so we got, we've been very successful. FiNet's been a great partner. We're up to, from the early days, 5 of us. We're at 92 people today. I think we have 13 joining this month, so we'll be over 100 people at the firm this month. And that 200 million is at 7.5, pushing 8 billion today. A little help from the market never hurts as well, so that's been beneficial. But I think by the end of the year we have another few billion coming in, so we'll do about 10 billion in running, right around 60 or 70 million in revenue. So it's been a pretty good journey, and thankful to have a great partner in Paul and all the great corporate staff here, all the great CSAs and advisors that have trusted us along the way to kind of be their home.
Well, I was going to ask a very simple question, which now seems kind of dumb. Are you seeing an uptick in advisors interested in going independent? So I think we can safely say the answer to that is yes, to quite possibly yes. But what I'd really love to hear, and I think what the listeners would love to hear, is what do you think, or why do you think this shift is taking place? I mean, I know that in my mind, as somebody who used to kind of carry the bag, I guess, in wholesale, when talking to advisors, it really was about reducing friction for them, enabling them and letting them be the best version of themselves for their clients.
I think what started this was COVID. Really started the momentum. Advisors were home, couldn't go utilize the workspace, or assistants couldn't go utilize the workspace, probably felt a little alone, as everybody did during that time. And, kind of felt, well, okay, I could probably do this, or do I really need an office, or do I really need that person, or that, so I think that's what started the kind of the motion and the momentum, for this. But I think what's really led to, the pickup after COVID, right, is just all of the technology that's available now, the tech stacks that you can use if you're going independent or REA, platform choices, right? So 5-6 years ago, there was no 72 Capital. If you went to FiNet, you're probably kind of doing it on your own. And, there's, many other probably great firms like us on different platforms out there, right, that offer a home for advisors that want independence, but don't want to do it on their own. So I think it's about the technology innovation, the platforms available, the multiple places you could plug into solo or tuck in is kind of the term that's used. I think that's what's really driven, more advisors and more advisors to independence, just, simply just more options.
And would it be safe to say, at least in your opinion, that they're also getting the same level or very similar levels of services and kind of tools at their disposals that they had 2019, pre-COVID at the wirehouses or other bigger firms?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you at Finet, it's like Coke and Pepsi, right? When you go to Merrill, Morgan, UBS, Wells Fargo Advisors, Ray J, maybe, they're all kind of the same. You got the SMAs, you got the alternative desk, the bond desk, the private client group, the high net worth department, all of these things. I mean, we have access to all of that through Wells Fargo Advisors. So I think from Finet's very unique in that it does have that model. But then I think even outside of Finet, you are able to customize your own tech stack however you want to run your practice. So I do think it's just a lot more options. And I'd say in some cases, better platform that you could even build from the ground up your own. You say, hey, I don't like this about where I'm at. I do like this, these things. So I'm going to just take the things I like, create my own platform, and move on from there.
I have to think that's a huge kind of plus and kind of nice thing to have in your back pocket, or at least in the back of your mind when you're making that decision. A lot of things, as you mentioned, making those decisions when kind of going independent. You've now, as you mentioned, going to have over 100 advisors.
100 people. So that's corporate staff, CSAs, and advisors. So I think we'll be about 50 advisors, 10 corporate staff, 40 CSAs.
So you've done this more than once. You've been around the block a few times. Would love to hear kind of from you. What are three simple things, or even could be complex things, that advisors should think about before they go independent or should be considering?
Yeah, I'd say at the highest level, what's occurring, right? You are taking an asset off of name the firm's balance sheet and putting it on your own. So a $3 million producer, that business, call it 2.5 times, is probably worth $6 to $7 million. So now you have this $7 million asset on your balance sheet. Maybe it's not your biggest asset on your balance sheet, but it's probably the top three, right? And so when you say three things, I'd say you got to protect it, right? So that means, is there a buy-sell agreement in place? Do you have a proper compliance director? Do you have HR and staff support set up? So you really got to protect that asset, right? And then how can you grow it, right? Do you have a marketing department? Who's going to do the client outreach? How are you bringing in new money? Or if you want to grow by acquisition, who is doing those deals for you? Who's financing it? Who is sourcing the deals? Who's doing the legal work? Who's doing all of that work behind buying a practice? Because, at a wirehouse, there's a formula. They click the button and it's like, okay, here's the outcome, right? If you're buying a practice. Independent world, there is no department to do that. You have to do that all yourself, right? And then I'd say monetization. So, I'm sure a lot of advisors out there, kind of read up, okay, there's this deal that happened, that independent practice, that RAA, that multiple. So can you attach that asset to an organization that would offer or command a higher multiple you could get on your practice than on your own? So the three things would be protect it, grow it, monetize it, and really, care for that asset that now you have.
Excellent. I appreciate that. As to our listeners, quick question. I'm going to kind of same kind of vein here, but being an independent requires wearing many hats. You're not just an advisor. You're also a small business owner when you're talking about protecting and growing that asset. What are some of the struggles you see advisors facing when they make that choice to go independent?
Yeah, it's really the time struggle, right? Most advisors are pretty smart people, right? They probably can figure out payroll or benefits or talk to the lawyer or do this and run the business. But they're also a financial advisor, right? They probably have families. It's adding another job to your probably already busy life. So the struggle is really finding time to serve clients, to run the organization, and then have some type of personal or family life outside of work. So that's really the biggest, and that's probably where we see, our financial advisors. It's like, hey, come, we're already at scale here. You can come here, probably grab the same amount of net pay you would on your own, free up a ton of time, and not have any of the headaches of running an organization while still owning your business. So if you want to leave us, nobody's calling your client. There's no solicit on us. We're not calling anybody. You can walk free here. No problem.
I don't know about everybody, but that has to actually provide some level of comfort.
It does. Look, there's no contract with us. There's no, we're not locking you in. You come here. you don't like us, let us know. And, hopefully we can fit. We've not, nobody left yet. So I'll just, let me just say that. But, yeah, advisors own their book of business. They've built that through their career. They should own it. Nobody should be calling their client if they leave, and we're not going to do that.
That's very stand up. And I'm sure that they appreciate it as, to you guys. So it definitely laid out a lot of, I think, the benefits of kind of being independent and the struggles that can come with it. And we touched briefly, we would love to hear a little bit more insight. Can you tell us more about the infrastructure at 72 Capital and what you believe kind of, set you above, I guess, some of the other competing firms that are in the space or just kind of above slugging it out, at the wirehouse?
Yeah, we've really tried very hard to really build the infrastructure here on the corporate team level to support the growth that we have experienced in our experience. And so if you actually go back to those three, kind of to take it back, if you go back to those three, topics advisors should be thoughtful around when looking at independence: protect, grow, right, and monetize. The protect, we do have buy-sell agreements for every FA that walks through the door. So we have the legal work done. We do have a compliance director that, probably 20 something years experience. We have an HR person, that provides employee handbooks, reviews, all these things you have to document. So we have all that first category buttoned up very tight. The second one, which is the growth aspect of it, we have a marketing director that creates content. If you Google us or Google somebody at 72 Capital, very good web presence, great website, client-facing material. So really good on the marketing front to help grow an advisor's practice. If you're looking to grow, as I mentioned, by acquisition, we do probably 3 to 4 deals per year where we help advisors. The advisor will find maybe it's a buddy, maybe it's a person they met golfing, whatever it might be, that they want to acquire a business. We'll help finance it. We can finance the whole thing. Or be, partial finance help. We do the legal docs, the term sheet, the integration. We can handle all of that for the advisor. They're just focusing on the clients. And then on the monetization, I don't know, get into that this one, but there is a monetization event that's coming for advisors here if they want to participate in it. That's in probably, like I mentioned, 3 to 5 years away. So, you could monetize probably at a higher multiple you get by yourself. But we had 3 advisors sell just to the practice last year alone at, market rates as well. So we can help advisors monetize.
There you go. You've sold me.
I got an office for you right down the hall. We got one left in Bethesda.
Perfect. One of the things that really, I think, in speaking with a lot of advisors, a lot of people going independent, Wells has not been one that I really kind of, I guess, thought of as being kind of at the forefront of being really innovative and offering advisors choices to go independent. And it's definitely nice to hear. Would love to kind of hear, why did you choose to partner in Wells with this way? And what kind of stood out in your mind, if we can kind of go back to 2016 for a brief second?
Yeah. Look, I applaud Wells. I thought they're fairly innovative, right? Having 3 options for advisors under one firm, right? You can do WBS, which is where you're kind of a bank FA, right? If you're trying to maybe build your practice, you can go private client group, PCG, if you want to be kind of in that wirehouse environment. And then they have Finet, which is the independent arm, if you want more control of all the things we've talked about. So for us, when we were deciding in 2016, is really the platform. We were so used to, and our clients were so used to big name Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, that having again, we had $200 million in assets. So saying, hey, we just started a company called 72 Capital. If you don't have maybe a big bank in the background, as well as it was at the time, or still is with us, that transition might have been a little bit harder. So it was a little bit of the backing, the big name backing. It was the platform, to continue to serve clients the way we work. So those are probably the 2 main people. And I would say that we had great, our first impression with Finet down in St. Louis. People were great. You could tell they were excited, to have us down there. I mean, at the time we were a smaller practice, but they were still just as excited as they could be. And I thought the people there were really genuine.
That's great. I mean, that's great. And it sounds like to me, at least, just kind of in our conversation, that you believe that that's made you more attractive to prospects.
I think so. Look, Wells does a good job of helping us recruit advisors over on the external front. They have great recruiters internally that, whatever, there's like the Northeast region person, there's the Southeast, right? All of these folks out there that are trying to grow those markets. And to partner with them, it's been we've been fortunate to have them kind of in our corner and to help us grow. So yeah, they do help quite a bit. I think it does for an FA, especially for a wirehouse FA, leaving a big organization, still having a big organization in the background, having the same platform, if you're doing private equity or alts or asset-based lending. I mean, it's all going to be fairly the same here than it would if you're going, UBS to Morgan Stanley across the street.
So what's next for 72 Capital?
Continue. We have, next short term, we have 2 offices opening in June, another one in New Jersey and one in Florida. We're very excited about. So that's like short term, what's next. Hopefully we get a little break in July and August where we can, kick our feet up a little bit and relax. But I think longer term, we just want to continue to give advisors a platform to be successful on, to serve their clients, to enjoy the benefits of independence, without the hassle and the headaches and the hurdles of running, their own business. So, continuing to find quality staff and quality corporate staff to support the growth. I think, that's a challenge where, to find good people, it takes time and, interview process time and job descriptions and all of these things you got to do to find quality folks to support our growth. So I think that's, kind of just continuing what we're doing.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you'll find a lot of people interested as well. Yeah. So one final question for you. At Harbor, we're firm believers in active management, though it is important to acknowledge that every financial expert has their own unique perspective. From your experience, what is your take on active management and where have you seen it make the most significant difference?
Yeah, I think from my personal experience, and I can speak to, most of the advisors here as well, but, I still manage clients and run a book. I think the ability to really scale your practice, I'd say 90% of the accounts that I manage are, actively discretionary, fee-based accounts. So, having the ability to scale, it's very efficient that way. And, if you look at the numbers, even just here, you can see, I believe we're 75+% advisory, and most of the advisors are going to be that, actively managed discretionary type of account. So, I think that trend is only getting stronger and, couldn't agree more.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. And now we're on to my favorite part. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready to roll.
What's your nickname?
Tommy.
Profession if you weren't in finance?
Bartender.
What's the best professional advice you've ever received?
Dress for the job you want, not the one you have.
Biggest risk you've ever taken?
Starting 72 Capital.
Bucket list travel destination?
Thailand.
What's something you wish you were better at?
Communicating.
What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Everything's going to work out. Just enjoy the ride.
What's one question you think all clients should ask their financial advisor?
What do you like about your job?
Most rewarding part of your job?
It's really seeing not only your clients, but the people here at 72 Capital, the advisors here at 72 Capital, seeing all of those people achieve their personal and financial goals.
Favorite way to get active?
I'm usually a big morning gym guy for quite some time, but more recently, the last few months, been training for a triathlon, and it's actually this Saturday. So I'm pretty nervous about my first one, but been doing a lot more swimming, biking, and running than weightlifting.
Whether you're a seasoned advisor or just getting started, The Active Advisor, brought to you by Harbor Capital, offers professional insights for the financial advisor community. Visit us at harborcapital.com to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe to The Active Advisor on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date on investment trends, tried and tested research methods, and what your industry peers are up to. From all of us at Harbor Capital, thanks for tuning in.
And now for important disclosures. This material is for informational purposes and is not intended to be relied upon as a forecast, research, or investment advice, and is not a recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any securities or adopt any investment strategy. The opinions expressed are as of 29th of May 2024 and are subject to change. The opinions expressed by the speakers do not necessarily represent the views of Harbor Capital Advisors, Inc., The information and opinions contained in this material are derived from proprietary and non-proprietary sources deemed by Harbor Capital Advisors Inc. to be reliable and are not necessarily all-inclusive and are not guaranteed as to accuracy. This material may contain forward-looking information that is not purely historical in nature. Such information may include, among other things, projections and forecasts. There is no guarantee that any of these views will come to pass. This material may not be representative of the experience of other individuals. Reliance upon information in this material is at the sole discretion of the viewer. This material is not legal, tax, or accounting advice. Please consult with a qualified professional for this type of advice. Investing involves risk, including the risk of loss. Specific companies and issuers are mentioned for educational purposes only and should not be deemed a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Any companies mentioned do not necessarily represent current or future holdings of any investment products. Harbor Capital Advisors Inc. does and may seek to do business with companies covered in this podcast. As a result, listeners should be aware that the firm may have a conflict of interest that could affect the objectivity of this podcast. This material is prepared by Harbor Capital Advisors Inc. Harbor Capital Advisors Inc. is not affiliated with 72 Capital. All trademarks or product names mentioned herein are the property of their respective owners. Copyright 2024, Harbor Capital Advisors Inc. All rights reserved.